here we go. So follow-up video to the previous one where I used a source and destination capacity constraint, which does work but doesn't allow for overrides the way that I had expected them to. So source and destination constraints, specifically those ones, ignore constraint only works when both the source and the destination have had their constraints ignored. Now that discussion in terms of how that should work is going on internally, but I just wanted to show you an alternative method, which is actually probably a better performance method anyway, which is to use ranges instead of constraints at all. So I'm actually going to turn off the constraints that I had before. We'll revisit what the animation actually looks like with those constraints turned off, which is back to this chaotic mix of low to high and high to low. And then if I head back to my destination paths, so now what I'm going to do is be more explicit with the destination paths themselves. So my low material, what I'm using is an in range for the reserved low. And then outside of that, I'm going to allow it to go wherever it wants. But ideally what it's going to be trying to do is go as low as possible. In the mid material, same thing, except it's going to go into its mid reserved section. Outside of that, it's allowed to go wherever it wants. And then with the high material, basically I need to create another range on the dump table. So if I go back to my destination table, we've got my perfect low, which I've actually now lost my range for because I've been playing around before I made this video, but basically it looks like that. And then with my neither high or low, basically it's an inverse of the two low and mid. So if we go with perfect mid and perfect low as a combined range, and then we invert them, that will give us the opposite of the things that were in that. And basically, so we're going to be, in this example, using an in range of neither high nor low. So that one there. So that's going to force us to go to these areas first. And then outside of that, so if we go, I just like to number these so they get sorted nicely. 2 and then 3. So we've got low to low, mid to mid, high to high again. This time with no constraints driving the behavior, and we've still got the behavior that we're chasing, although right at the tail end. The reason for that will be that those ranges aren't restricted, and we've probably also, basically we didn't reserve anything towards the tail end of the schedule, so material is actually allowed to go from this height up towards the front, which is fine. So in terms of the override now, if we go back to that time we were in the previous video, if you hung around for it, you'll see that override that I put in August actually worked quite neatly. So basically this method, very similar to the previous one, but doesn't use the capacity constraint anymore, which just allows you to be a little bit more flexible in how you play around with it. So that'll be it. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for your attention once again. We will be turning a lot of these videos into more polished tutorials over the next year. So if you've got anything that you haven't seen yet in terms of these videos, please let us know. But yeah, we'll be polishing these up a little bit, so rather than you hanging around for half an hour while I ramble, you'll be able to get a lot more out of a shorter video. So thanks for your attention.